Let's not take credit for our Father's good deeds. Some time ago, I talked about Survive the Jive, one of his videos where he recites some Anglo-Saxon poems that basically state that the Anglo-Saxons are Hebrews, more or less. But then he tells you that those are just stories, and if you believe them, you're stupid, right? Doesn't give you any evidence of this or anything. He just, I don't know what the point of that video was. And I also talked about how the Old English sounds a lot like Hebrew, if only superficially so, right? So now that hard science has been coming out and it's getting very, very difficult to spread myths and legends, and look, legends and myths, there's a lot of truth to them, but unless, you pull them out of your bumhole, then maybe not. But just as we're getting more and more hard science out there, it's getting harder and harder to deal with some of the cognitive dissonance that some of these so-called Aryans have. He made a video about the R1b and the R1a haplogroup, which I will try to explain a little bit in just a second. Oh, how about now? Haplotypes are genetic markers, I guess, of former mutations that are passed down from our ancestors, basically. And a haplogroup is a group of people with a certain haplotype, okay? More or less. I'm not a geneticist, I'm not a scientist, so feel free to contribute or correct me or contribute what it is you have to say in the comment section. Anyway, Survive the Jive is basically saying, yeah, there's this genetics, DNA thing, hard science, but it's really not that important. And he just kind of dismisses it. Well, why does he dismiss it? Well, this is why. Because these people believe they're Aryans, and some of them are, for sure. Some of them. Very few and far between, but some of them are. This study states that the haplogroup R1a is the Proto-Indo-Europeans and the legendary Aryans, right? Now, look, this is a scientific hypothesis. I don't think it's been proved beyond any shadow of a doubt, right? But if you have evidence to the contrary, present it. But it's a working hypothesis, I would say theory, and we're just going to go with this for now, okay? R1a as the Aryans, Proto-Indo-Europeans, the Aryans, that branch of the Proto-Indo-Europeans, okay? Maybe I'll change my mind as new evidence comes in, but for now, this is what we're going to roll with. So I showed you this map, which shows a rough concentration of the R1a versus the R1b haplotype group, right? Which isn't to say, this just shows you that this red region has the highest concentration of this haplogroup, which doesn't mean that there is no R1b in there or other haplogroups. And the same with R1b, it shows you the highest concentration of that haplogroup, which doesn't mean that there are no R1a or Aryans living in those lands or other people, right? So, real quick, if the R1a are the Aryans, who are the R1b? I'm not saying this is concrete. I'm not saying I'm not going to change my mind, but based on all the evidence I have so far, like the fact that the Anglo-Saxons carried the Star of David, that their language seems to be based on Proto-Hebraic or Hebrew, that it sounds like that. I'm gonna, for now, go with the working hypothesis that those are Semites. Now, when I say Aryan or Semite, please keep in mind that I'm not talking about religion, right? I'm talking about genetics. Because most people automatically assume that Semites means, well, they practice Judaism, they're Jews. Well, I mean, in Israel they do, but the Semites in North Africa practice what? Islam. So the Semites of Europe, what religion do you think they might practice? Exactly. Am I making too much sense yet? Anyway, that's what we're going with for now. And I pointed out how interesting it is that the concentrations of these haplogroups seem to clash right alongside the Berlin Wall. And the reason why my channel is called, get ready, Weni Widi Wiki, not Veni Vidi Vici, or sorry, Weni Widi Wandali. The reason why it's called that is because I've forever been wondering, what is it about Central Europe that has made it a battlefield and this place of such struggle for centuries now, if not thousands of years? What is it, right? And well, I mean, and another thing about that is, why the hell did the Berlin Wall split Germany into two, right? Why? Well, I think we're getting to the bottom of it, and my working hypothesis is that it's the reason why that is because it's a clash of two different civilizations, okay? Two brothers fighting one another, perhaps modern day Cain and Abel, I'm not sure. But that's that, right? So, and then when you look at the R1A distribution, and then you look at Slavic lands today, or Slavic lands in the past, right? There's a clear overlap. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is that R1A is the Slavic, is the Aryan haplogroup, okay? Which isn't to say that there haven't been Slavs with different haplogroups, because Slavic is a culture, it's a language, and DNA is biology. So there's definitely going to be other influences and admixtures, and culture isn't going to perfectly align with your blood, right? Just as in the case of the Semites being Jewish, Muslim, or Christian, right? It might explain to you why Protestantism came out of where it came out of, right? Because it's another one of those chosen people ideologies, right? So R1A, Aryans, R1B, Semites. That's the working hypothesis for right now, which is why guys like Survive the Jive are experiencing major cognitive dissonance, because their entire lives they've been told that they're Aryan, and he could be, right? Because there are Aryans living where he lives, very few and far between, but there are some. So he could be, but he's most likely a Semite, which is why he speaks what should be called a Semitic language, same language I'm speaking right now to you. Created language, based, maybe not Semitic exactly, but based with Semitic roots, okay? So, where do we go with this? I'm not sure. Let's close off with Mr. Hitler, who, I don't know what his goals were. I don't know if he was a useful idiot. I don't know if he was just confused. I don't know what the hell was going through his head when he was doing what he did, but he for damn sure was wrong. I know that much. And another thing I know is that he had it all twisted, because whereas he was talking about love for the Aryan and promoting the Aryan race, the first thing that he did was move east and exterminate the Aryans. And while he was talking about, you know, exterminating the Jew and doing all these things, right, destroying the Semites, he did a little bit of that, okay? But just because he also put some Jews in the concentration camps, that doesn't necessarily mean that those Jews weren't Aryan, okay? It doesn't. But, you know, sometimes you gotta sacrifice something in order to get what? Well, the state of Israel, right? Think about this logically. If Hitler was so, I'm not talking about his intentions, but if Hitler was so pro-Aryan and anti-Jew, why did he exterminate the Aryan and create a Jewish state in the Middle East? And why did he take the Aryan symbol and dragged it through mud, where anybody that flies the swastika right now is a racist? Anybody that uses the word Aryan is automatically being looked at as some kind of a racist. If he was so pro-Aryan, why did he take a big old dump on the Aryan race and give the Semites Israel? Why is that? More on that in subsequent videos, all right? Let's try to do our best not to judge our brothers for their father's sins. Take care.